the Greeks. More than men. They were manly men, fierce in battle, philosophers and profound thinkers. They were the foundation of the white world. And for the Euro clowns, that means the Greeks have to, absolutely must be, white people. From the highest ranking member of the Forum to the lowliest slave. Not only that, but every bit of their culture had to come from them, with no outside influence, and certainly nothing from the black world, even though Africa was far closer to them than Europe. Yes, sir, Greece was the quintessential white civilization, with strong, smart white people as far as the eye can see, and not a person of color for 1,000 miles. In fact, the Greeks hated non-whites, and made no bones about it.
This is Sparta!
Small wonder the Euro clowns love Greece so much.
Go tell the Spartans, passerby, that here, by Spartan law, we lie.
And lie they did. Lied their asses off. For starters, Greece was the world's first multiracial society, and second, there is no connection between Greece and the Northern Europeans who never get tired of bragging about them. But before we get to how black Greece was, let's address this whole macho Greek myth. Everybody knows that Greece was pretty much known for only two things, philosophy and homosexuality. And not just among men. Remember, the word lesbian comes from the Greeks, the term being coined after the Greek island of Lesbos, made famous by the ancient Greek poetess Sappho, who apparently couldn't keep her mind or her hands off of other women. The Greek reputation for homosexuality even made it into pop references for sex, such as anal sex being referred to as doing it Greek style. Up until now, Greek men have been stereotyped by Western civilization as dainty, physically weak, and womanly. But all that changed in the last few years. The United States entertainment industry decided to help butch up the Greeks' image with movies portraying the Greeks as tough guys. Even video games got in on the fun. First came Troy, which tried to make Achilles cool by reinventing him as some sort of badass straight out of the Matrix.
Immortality! Take it! It's yours!
The script seemed to be a paint-by-numbers attempt at making an epic. Lousy dialogue, pretty actors who can't act, lots of fake blood, and characters as flat as cardboard. But Tinseltown was just getting started. Next came Alexander. Oliver Stone wrote better dialogue than Troy, but he was so obsessed with incest, lust, homosexuality, and murder, he forgot about the movie. If he had really wanted to be bold, he would have told his audiences the truth, that most of Alexander's legend is a complete fraud. That he didn't conquer the world. At best, all he conquered was the Mediterranean and select portions of Western Asia. But Oliver Stone is a white man, and the fictional Greece whites have created in their own minds proved too great a temptation for him to resist. Without a care for the facts, he repeated the age-old lie that Alexander the Fake traveled untold thousands of miles to the farthest reaches of the continent in his unstoppable quest to conquer the world. But Stone never bothered to tell his audience that Alexander never went into Africa, which was only a few hundred miles from Greece. So, why did Alexander choose to travel thousands of miles across Asia into the middle of nowhere as opposed to going into Africa, which was only a hop, skip, and a jump away? After the defeat of Darius III, the Persians ceded their imperial holdings to old Alex, and he walked into Egypt without any opposition. Like all Greeks, he knew Nubia was where the Egyptians got their huge gold reserves. So, if Alexander was so great, why didn't he simply keep marching south into Nubia and sweep the savage, primitive Negroes aside and take the land, the gold, and the glory? Because Queen Makeda of Ethiopia was waiting on him, with a division-strong army of elephants and Ethiopian soldiers. Alex decided to keep heading east in search of enemies who didn't bite back, though his northern European admirers always seemed to conveniently forget that he left the entire continent of Africa untouched. But, as ridiculous as Troy and Alexander were, nothing could prepare the world for the outrageous spectacle of 300, which became the magnum opus for white supremacists who clearly saw it for the race war analogy that it was. In that movie, the Greeks were reimagined as uber-macho dudes who not only scorned homosexuality, but frequently engaged in superhuman feats of battle. Now, the director of 300, Zack Snyder, is a Jew, so the anti-Arab slant of the film was understandable. But the anti-black slant was not. Whereas the movie Troy went to great lengths to bleach all non-whites from view, 300, on the other hand, took great pains to put blacks into the movie every chance it got, though never in a flattering light. Leonidas is shown disparaging the men of Athens as effeminate.
The Athenians have already turned you down. And if those philosophers and boy lovers...
But the Spartans engaged in rampant homosexuality just like the Athenians did. In fact, their practice was to fight naked, so as to jump on fallen enemy soldiers and, well, you can guess. Nearly everyone in the movie talks about freedom and resisting slavery. The Greeks in the movie refer to the Persian army as Xerxes' slaves and the slaves of Xerxes. But what Zack Snyder doesn't tell you is that the Greeks had slaves, the Helots, whom they routinely killed as part of their regular training, because a Spartan was required to kill at least one person before he could officially graduate from training and finally be assigned to a unit. The Helots were almost always the target of choice. The Spartans subjected the Helots to a wide variety of humiliations, such as forcing them to drink pure wine until they could barely stand. Then the Spartans brought in their children to laugh and mock the Helots. This was done in order to teach Spartans from an early age to have no respect for Helots. So the Spartans committed the same kind of atrocities the movie accuses the Persians of doing. Only the Spartans did far worse.